I'm here at Cape Elizabeth, just outside of Portland, Maine. And in the last video, I mentioned that the area that I was in was the home to a place called Fort Williams. So there's some military history right here in this area, but the military history doesn't start with Fort Williams. As a matter of fact, this area right here was called Portland Head. And in 1776, whenever the Revolution started, well, people were posted right here to watch for the British in case they tried to come into this area. Well, later on, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, a series of fortifications were built right here in this area as part of something called the Endicott program, which I talked about on another video. So today, we are going to be trudging around here at the former location of Fort Williams, looking at some of the batteries that were built right here in this area. Now, there are several batteries here at Fort Williams, but we're not going to be able to see them all today because, well, I'm just a little bit short on time. I fly out today, and if I missed my flight, that would be unfortunate. So we're going to see as much as we can, but the first of the batteries that we're going to take a look at is this one right here. This is Battery Blair. Now, Battery Blair was completed in 1903 as a part of the Endicott program, where they were trying to bolster U.S. coastal defenses. And originally, they had two 12-inch guns that would have been mounted here. And I think we're looking at where one of those guns would have been mounted. And kind of a unique design. It would have been on something called a disappearing carriage. So the gun would have actually sat down low, and it could have been loaded by the men who were manning this battery, and then it would elevate up above the parapet. You could fire on your target, and then after it fired, it would lower back down. That keeps the gun protected and also makes it easier for the men to load it. So yeah, two 12-inch guns. So that would have been the largest guns available at the time, designed to take out battleships and cruisers. Interesting. Here's a really good look at what the battery would have originally looked like. So again, like all of this right here is gone. So we're looking at a little bit of a shell of what the battery used to look like. But here you can see what one of those disappearing guns would have looked like. So here's one right here in the elevated position, and here's one after it's been fired. Now, I'm going to freely admit that I don't know everything that there is to know about this structure, but I'm guessing that this room right here is where the man pulling the lanyard would have been situated. So you got this little port coming out right here. That's my guess, but I could possibly be wrong, so don't torch me if I'm not correct about that. But let's go ahead and walk up here and take a look at the view from this battery. Oh wow, very, very nice. There's the lighthouse that we were looking at in the last video. Quite the view from up here, though. Would have had a commanding view of this whole area. Now, this battery saw service through World War I and kind of into World War II. The day after Pearl Harbor, they decided to do a test fire, and I guess it didn't go so well, and the battery was decommissioned after that. So here, if we get up top, you can see where those guns would have been. Okay, now I mentioned that there were 2 different 12-inch guns here at Battery Blair. After this battery was decommissioned, they ended up burying this thing, and they excavated the part that I just showed you. Well, here is the unexcavated part where the second gun would have been, here at the battery. So you can kind of see this little ring-shaped structure right in here. That's where the gun would have been, and then of course would have continued on over into this area. All right, we're gonna go take a look at another battery now. All right, so the battery that we're coming up on now is called WWII, spelled K-E-Y-E-S, which some people might pronounce keys, but I knew a guy one time by the last name of K-E-Y-E-S, and it was pronounced Kais. So anyway, that's what I'm saying. But this one right here, this battery that we're coming up on, is the only one here at Fort Williams that saw service throughout World War II. All right, so this is WWII. Now, the primary purpose of this battery would have been to protect the minefield that would have been laid in the harbor just out in front of us. So yeah, it's named after a guy by the name of Erasmus Kais, who was a Maine resident and rose to the rank of general during the Civil War. So yeah, we're gonna jump up here and take a little look around. All right, we're gonna go up here and take a quick look around. Now, WWII was set up with 2 rapid-firing 3-inch guns, and they wanted to have the rapid fire to shoot at any like fast-moving patrol boats. And I think we're looking at one of the gun pits right here, where those 3-inch guns would have been mounted. And I'm guessing that there's one just on the other side as well. So if you get up here, yeah, it looks like there's quite a bit of growth. So it's really hard to see the Cape. But over here in this direction is Portland. And yeah, it looks like I got a little bit of a clearing here that I can step into. This is the area that WWII would have been watching over and protecting. So they had 24-hour watch for U-boats and for German patrol boats, things like that. This whole area would have been mined, and they also would have had like anti-submarine nets cast over from one end to the other. And if we go back over here, that other gun position, yeah, here's what looks to be the other position of that rapid firing 3-inch gun. Very, very interesting that this area played such a critical role in World War II in the Battle of the Atlantic. As a matter of fact, in one of the earlier videos I mentioned that about 9 miles out that way there was a U.S. ship that was sunk by a U-boat. So the war wasn't just fought in Europe, it was right off our shores as well. Okay, we're back down here behind the battery. Now this building that we're looking at here in front of me to the right of the battery would have been where the rangefinder would have been to find distance to targets. This is the mine control station, and then down here on the bottom is a magazine and a storehouse. And then off here to the left is where they would have had a searchlight. Very, very interesting. All right, well, that was WWII right here at Fort Williams. in Portland, Maine. Kind of interesting, kind of cool that you don't have to travel all the way to Europe or the South Pacific in order to like personally witness some World War II history. You can come to a place like this and see it for yourself. So anyway, glad that we stopped here today. Really interesting. It's kind of helping me to form a little bit more of a complete picture of the history of World War II and the history of our country. All right, well, heading off to the next spot. All right, well I am, whoa, about to get wet.